welcome. Today we're embarking on a cinematic journey into the American experience during World War II. Beyond the headlines of battles and leaders, we'll uncover the stories, sacrifices, and innovations that transformed the United States. This is more than a history lesson. It's a look at how ordinary people shaped a nation at war. We'll explore the efforts, the hidden costs, and the legacy that still shapes us today. Whether you're a history buff or new to this era, prepare to be surprised and inspired. Let's begin our journey into the secrets of the USA in World War II. When President Roosevelt called for America to become the arsenal of democracy, the response was unprecedented. Factories across the nation, from the largest cities to the smallest towns, answered the call with a sense of urgency and unity never seen before in American history. Over 300,000 aircraft, B-17S, P-51S Corsairs, rolled off assembly lines between 1940 and 1945. These machines were not just numbers. Each one represented the tireless effort of thousands of workers, engineers, and innovators working around the clock. Ford's Willow Run plant built a B-24 bomber every hour, symbolizing the nation's industrial might. The scale and speed of production were staggering, setting new records and redefining what was possible. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about overwhelming the enemy with relentless production. The factories became a front line, where every rivet and bolt contributed to the war effort. German and Japanese planners couldn't match this scale. Every loss they inflicted was replaced tenfold. The skies filled with American planes, a constant reminder of the Allies' growing strength. Small towns became factory hubs, and the demand for labor transformed American society. Women, minorities, and people from all walks of life joined the workforce, forever changing the nation's social fabric. The roar of machinery became the nation's heartbeat, echoing from Detroit to Los Angeles. Day and night the factories pulsed with energy, forging the tools of victory. This industrial miracle was a weapon in itself, demoralizing the Axis and fueling Allied victory. The sight of endless waves of bombers was both a promise and a warning. When you see bombers over Europe, remember, each one was built by millions of ordinary Americans. Their hands, their sweat, and their determination made victory possible. The arsenal of democracy was the foundation of victory, a testament to collective will and determination. It was proof that when united, a nation can achieve the extraordinary. America's factories didn't just build machines, they built hope, pride, and the promise of a better future for generations to come. While America's factories roared, its most secret project unfolded in silence, the Manhattan Project. Entire cities like Oak Ridge and Los Alamos were built in secrecy, hidden from maps and the public. Tens of thousands worked without knowing the true purpose, only that their efforts mattered. Led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, scientists raced to unlock the atom before Nazi Germany. The pressure was immense, the stakes existential. On July 16, 1945, the Trinity test unleashed a power never before seen, changing the world forever. The atomic bomb ended the war, but also began the atomic age and the Cold War. The Manhattan Project is a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both innovation and destruction. Once revealed, its secret altered history's course. The world would never be the same. Before Pearl Harbor, the U.S. military was small, just a fraction of the size it would soon become. Most Americans lived their lives untouched by war, and military service was not a common experience for the average citizen. By war's end, over 16 million Americans wore a uniform, serving in every branch of the armed forces. The scale of this transformation was unprecedented in the nation's history. This was a true cross-section of America. Farmers, factory workers, students, and miners, all united by a sense of duty and purpose. People from every walk of life answered the call, leaving behind their homes and jobs. The draft touched nearly every family, and blue and gold stars appeared in windows across the nation, each one a symbol of sacrifice and hope. Communities rallied together, supporting loved ones overseas. The absence of so many men transformed the workforce, opening doors for women and minorities. Factories buzzed with new energy as Americans of all backgrounds stepped up to fill vital roles. Massive training camps turned civilians into soldiers, forging unity and a shared identity as GIs. Strangers became comrades, learning to rely on each other in the face of adversity. The experience bound a generation together, forever changed by what they endured. Lifelong friendships were forged, and memories, both joyful and painful, would last a lifetime. When they returned, they reshaped America, fueling the baby boom, suburban growth, and a new sense of national confidence. Their sacrifices laid the foundation for a transformed society. The scale of mobilization showed the nation's commitment, measured in millions of lives and countless acts of courage. It was a collective effort that touched every corner of the country. The war's impact was immediate and lasting, reshaping communities, industries, and the very fabric of American life. America's identity was forever altered, forged in the crucible of war and united by a shared sense of purpose and resilience. The Great Depression left America struggling, but World War II sparked an economic revival. War production meant jobs, factories roared back to life, and unemployment plummeted below 2%. Government spending fueled innovation in industry, medicine, and logistics. The West Coast became a hub of shipbuilding and aircraft manufacturing. Rationing was common, but steady paychecks lifted families and created a new middle class. The war ended breadlines and built the foundation for post-war prosperity. America emerged as the world's economic superpower. With men at war, millions of women stepped into factories, shipyards, and offices, symbolized by Rosie the Riveter. Women became riveters, welders, and mechanics, shattering old conventions out of necessity. Married women and mothers joined the workforce, gaining independence and new skills. Women also served in the military in non-combat roles, freeing men for the front lines. This shift planted the seeds for the modern women's rights movement. Though many returned to traditional roles after the war, the door to new possibilities had opened. Rosie's legacy proved women could do far more than society had allowed. Amid a war for freedom, the U.S. committed a grave injustice, the internment of Japanese Americans. After Pearl Harbor, fear and prejudice led to Executive Order 9066, targeting over 120,000 people, most of them citizens. Families lost homes and businesses, sent to remote camps behind barbed wire. Life in the camps was harsh, but communities formed schools, churches, and newspapers. Even as their families were imprisoned, thousands of Japanese Americans volunteered to fight for the U.S. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team became the most decorated unit of its size. Their bravery stood in stark contrast to the prejudice they faced. Decades later, the government apologized and paid reparations, acknowledging the injustice. Internment remains a sobering lesson about fear and civil rights. It's a chapter we must remember. Pearl Harbor left the U.S. Pacific Fleet in ruins, with much of its battleship force crippled and the nation reeling from the surprise attack. But out of this devastation came a determination to rebuild and expand the Navy on an unprecedented scale, sparking a naval expansion like no other in history. The focus shifted from traditional battleships to the revolutionary aircraft carrier, ushering in a new era that would forever change the face of naval warfare and strategy. By 1945, the U.S. had nearly 100 carriers, a staggering number that dwarfed every other navy in the world, and allowed for unmatched power projection. The Navy swelled to over 3 million personnel, drawing in men and women from every corner of the country to serve in roles from combat to logistics. Shipyards worked around the clock, day and night, with thousands of workers laboring tirelessly to launch new ships at a pace never seen before. Building a fleet that could dominate both the Atlantic and Pacific, the Navy's logistical power, oilers, supply ships, and support vessels, became the backbone of sustained operations. Repair vessels and floating workshops kept fleets at sea for months on end, ensuring that American warships could fight far from home without pause. This global reach choked the Japanese war effort, cut off vital supplies, and enabled the Allies to press the attack on every front, paving the way for ultimate victory. By war's end, the U.S. Navy was not only the largest and most powerful in history, but also a symbol of American industrial might and resolve. The sight of hundreds of American warships assembled in Tokyo Bay during the surrender ceremony symbolized total naval supremacy and the dawn of a new era. The two-ocean navy was no longer just a distant goal, it had become a powerful reality, with fleets operating simultaneously across the globe. America's maritime power reshaped the world order, and the legacy of the two-ocean navy endures to this day, ensuring freedom of the seas for generations. As millions of veterans returned, The GI Bill of Rights transformed America. It offered college tuition and home loans, democratizing higher education and sparking a housing boom. Veterans flooded campuses, creating the most educated workforce in the world. Suburbs grew, and home ownership soared, defining post-war America. The GI Bill prevented recession, fueled growth, and built the modern middle class. It was a promise kept to those who served. Its legacy shaped generations. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, Japan targeted Midway, hoping to end U.S. naval power. But American codebreakers had cracked Japanese plans, giving Admiral Nimitz a crucial edge. In June 1942, 3 U.S. carriers ambushed the Japanese fleet. Sacrificial torpedo bombers drew enemy fighters low, leaving carriers exposed. American dive bombers struck, sinking 4 Japanese carriers in minutes. The loss crippled Japan's naval air power, an irreversible blow. Midway was the turning point in the Pacific. From then on, the U.S. seized the initiative, beginning the island-hopping campaign. It was a victory of intelligence, courage, and timing. The tide of war had turned. As the war ended, the U.S. led efforts to build a new international system for peace. Learning from the failed League of Nations, American leaders championed the United Nations. In 1945, delegates from 50 nations met in San Francisco to draft the UN Charter. The U.S. played a central role shaping the framework for diplomacy and security. The UN's creation marked America's shift from isolationism to global leadership. It was a hopeful act, an attempt to prevent future wars through cooperation. The world order was forever changed. America embraced its role as a global leader. Our journey through America's World War II story ends here. From factories to battlefields, the nation was transformed in ways still felt today. These stories remind us of unity, sacrifice, and the complexities of conflict. History is a living conversation. Share your family's stories or surprising facts below. Thank you for joining this exploration. Subscribe for more journeys into the past. Until next time, keep the conversation alive.